Have you ever wondered why, despite your best intentions, your peace is shattered by certain people? Why do some individuals leave you feeling drained, anxious, or even doubting your own reality? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that the people we allow into our lives shape not only our experiences, but the very core of our identity. He warned that some personalities are not just difficult, they are dangerous, not because they wield weapons, but because they possess the power to distort your mind, poison your spirit, and sabotage your journey toward wholeness. You might think of danger as something external, a threat you can see, hear, or touch. But Jung understood that the most insidious dangers are psychological. They creep in quietly, disguised as friends, lovers, mentors, or even family. They don't always shout or strike. Sometimes they simply whisper doubts, plant seeds of confusion, or feed off your energy until you're left hollow and uncertain. These are the people who, if left unchecked, can derail your growth, cloud your judgment, and keep you trapped in cycles of pain. But why do we attract such people? Why do we tolerate them? Sometimes for years, even when we sense something is wrong. Jung believed that the answer lies deep within our unconscious, the hidden part of our psyche that stores our fears, wounds, and unmet needs. The people we draw into our lives often mirror the parts of ourselves we have not yet faced, and until we become conscious of these patterns, we are destined to repeat them, suffering the same betrayals, disappointments, and heartbreaks. This is not just a warning, it is a call to awareness, because once you see these patterns, you can break them. Once you recognize these dangerous personalities, you can protect your energy, reclaim your boundaries, and choose relationships that nourish rather than destroy you. So, who are these 6 dangerous people Carl Jung says you must avoid? And more importantly, how do you recognize them before they leave lasting scars on your soul? In this journey, we will go beyond the surface. We will explore the psychological mechanisms that make these personalities so destructive, the subtle signs that reveal their presence, and the steps you can take to free yourself from their grip. But before we begin, ask yourself, are you ready to look honestly at the people in your life? Are you willing to confront the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the greatest threats to your well-being are not strangers, but those closest to you? If so, let's begin this journey, not with fear, but with the clarity and courage that Jung believed was the foundation of true freedom. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But what about those who do more than irritate, those who drain us, leaving us exhausted and empty?" The first dangerous person is the emotional vampire. You know this person. They enter a room, and the energy shifts. Their presence is heavy, their needs endless. No matter how much you give, your time, your attention, your empathy, it is never enough. They feed on your kindness, your willingness to listen, your desire to help, and in return, they offer nothing but more need, more drama, more crisis. At first, you may feel important, even special. After all, they confide in you, rely on you, make you feel needed. But over time, you notice a pattern. Your own problems are dismissed, your boundaries are ignored, your energy is depleted, yet you feel guilty for wanting space. This is not friendship, this is emotional parasitism. Jung believed that such people are often deeply wounded themselves. They have not learned to process their own pain, so they unconsciously seek others to carry it for them. But here's the danger. If you are not careful, you become their emotional dumping ground. Your life becomes a revolving door of their crises, your peace sacrificed for their comfort. The emotional vampire is dangerous not because they are evil, but because they are unconscious. They do not see the harm they cause. And unless you recognize the pattern, you will be trapped in a cycle of giving and depletion, mistaking martyrdom for love. How do you protect yourself? The answer is not cruelty, but clarity. Set boundaries. Learn to say no without guilt. Recognize that your empathy is a gift, not a resource to be exploited. Jung taught that true compassion includes compassion for yourself. You cannot save someone who refuses to save themselves. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If the emotional vampire drains you, the master manipulator distorts you. This is the person who twists reality, bends the truth, and plays with your perceptions until you no longer trust your own mind. They are charming, persuasive, and often highly intelligent, but beneath the surface lies a need for control that is both relentless and ruthless. Jung warned that manipulation is a form of psychological violence. It is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it is subtle, a suggestion here, a guilt trip there, a carefully planted doubt that grows into self-loathing. The master manipulator knows your weaknesses, your insecurities, your deepest fears, and they use this knowledge not to support you, but to control you. You may find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, questioning your own memory, or feeling responsible for their emotions. This is not an accident. It is a deliberate strategy to keep you off balance, dependent, and compliant. The danger of the master manipulator is that they erode your sense of self. Over time, you begin to doubt your own perceptions, your own worth, your own reality. You become a puppet, dancing to the strings they pull, losing sight of who you are. Jung believed that the antidote to manipulation is self-awareness. The more you know yourself, your values, your boundaries, your truth, the less power manipulators have over you. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Do not be afraid to question, to challenge, to walk away. But perhaps the most insidious aspect of manipulation is that it often masquerades as love. The master manipulator may shower you with affection, gifts, or praise until you resist their control. Then the mask slips and you see the cold calculation beneath. Remember, love does not require you to betray yourself. True connection is built on respect, not control. There is a certain kind of person who wears their wounds like armor, who moves through life collecting grievances and injustices, real or imagined, and who expects the world to bend in sympathy to their suffering. This is the chronic victim, a personality Jung warned against not because of their pain, but because of how they wield it. At first, your heart may go out to them. Their stories are compelling, their struggles seem endless, and your empathy is triggered. You want to help, to heal, to rescue. But soon you notice a pattern. No matter what you do, it is never enough. Solutions are dismissed, advice is ignored, and every attempt to empower them is met with resistance or even anger. Their suffering becomes a bottomless pit, and you are expected to keep pouring your energy into it. Jung understood that the chronic victim is often trapped in a cycle of unconscious self-sabotage. Their identity is so fused with their pain that to let go of it would mean losing themselves. They are not seeking healing, they are seeking validation for their suffering. And if you are not careful, you become an accessory to their self-destruction, enabling their helplessness rather than challenging it. The danger here is subtle but profound. The chronic victim can make you feel responsible for their happiness, guilty for your own success, and ashamed for setting boundaries. They may accuse you of being selfish, uncaring, or abandoning them if you refuse to participate in their narrative of perpetual suffering. But Jung taught that true compassion is not about enabling weakness, it is about empowering strength. You cannot heal someone who is invested in their own wounds. You cannot save someone who refuses to take responsibility for their life. The most loving thing you can do is to refuse to play the role they have assigned you. Offer support, but do not sacrifice your own well-being. Encourage growth, but do not become a crutch. Ask yourself, are you helping or are you enabling? Are you offering a hand or are you being pulled into the quicksand of someone else's despair? The line is thin, but it is vital. Your energy is precious. Spend it where it can create growth, not where it is endlessly consumed. Envy is a poison that corrodes from within, and those who are consumed by it can be among the most dangerous people you will ever encounter. The envious saboteur is not always obvious. They may smile at your successes, congratulate your achievements, and pretend to celebrate your happiness. But beneath the surface, they are seething with resentment, waiting for the moment to undermine you. Jung believed that envy is a shadow emotion, one that reveals what we desire but feel we cannot attain. The envious saboteur is often deeply insecure, unable to celebrate others because they are haunted by their own sense of inadequacy. Rather than confront their feelings, they project them outward, seeking to diminish those who remind them of what they lack. You may notice subtle signs, backhanded compliments, passive-aggressive remarks, or a pattern of minimizing your accomplishments. They may spread rumors, sow doubt, or quietly sabotage your efforts. Their goal is not to destroy you outright, but to erode your confidence, to make you question your worth, to keep you small. The danger of the envious saboteur is that their attacks are often disguised as concern or advice. They may warn you against getting your hopes up, caution you about jealous people, or suggest that you are changing in ways that are not positive. Their words are laced with poison, but delivered with a smile. Jung taught that the best defense against envy is self-awareness and humility. Recognize your own achievements, but do not flaunt them. Celebrate your growth, but remain grounded. And most importantly, do not allow the insecurities of others to dictate your path. If someone cannot celebrate your success, they do not deserve a front row seat in your life. Set boundaries with those who undermine you, even if they are friends or family. Protect your dreams from those who would rather see you fail than confront their own limitations. Remember, your light does not dim by shining for yourself. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Perhaps the most seductive and the most dangerous of all is the narcissistic charmer. This is the person who dazzles with their confidence, captivates with their charm, and draws you in with promises of love, friendship, or opportunity. At first, you feel seen, valued, even special. But over time, the mask slips and you begin to see the truth. Their world revolves around themselves, and everyone else is merely a supporting character. Jung wrote extensively about the dangers of narcissism, describing it as a form of arrested development, a refusal to grow beyond the self. The narcissistic charmer is skilled at mirroring your desires, reflecting back to you the image you want to see. They are experts at seduction, not just in romance, but in friendship, business, and even family. But beneath the surface lies a profound emptiness. The narcissistic charmer is incapable of true empathy. They crave admiration, attention, and validation, but are unable to give it in return. When you no longer serve their needs, they discard you without remorse, often leaving you confused, hurt, and questioning your own worth. The danger here is that the narcissistic charmer can make you doubt your own reality. They may gaslight you, rewrite history, or blame you for their own failings. Their charm is a weapon used to disarm your defenses and gain access to your vulnerabilities. Jung believed that the antidote to narcissism is self-respect. Do not be seduced by flattery or grand gestures. Pay attention to actions, not words. Notice how they treat others, especially when there is nothing to gain. Trust your intuition. If something feels off, it probably is. Remember, you are not responsible for filling the emptiness in someone else's soul. You are not obligated to sacrifice your needs for their approval. True connection is mutual, not transactional. Do not confuse attention with affection or charm with character. The final and perhaps most complex, dangerous person is what Jung called the shadow mirror. This is the individual who unconsciously reflects back to you the parts of yourself you have not yet accepted, the fears, desires, and wounds you keep hidden. Even from yourself, the shadow mirror is not always malicious. In fact, they may be completely unaware of the role they play in your life, but their presence triggers intense reactions, anger, jealousy, attraction, or even hatred. You may find yourself drawn to them, repelled by them, or locked in a cycle of conflict you cannot explain. Jung taught that the people who provoke the strongest emotions in us are often mirrors for our own shadow, the aspects of ourselves we have disowned or denied. The danger here is not just external, but internal. If you are not conscious of your own shadow, you may project it onto others, blaming them for what you refuse to see in yourself. The shadow mirror is dangerous because they force you to confront your own darkness. They challenge your self-image, disrupt your comfort, and push you to grow. But if you are not ready, you may respond with defensiveness, aggression, or withdrawal, missing the opportunity for transformation. Jung believed that the only way to disarm the shadow mirror is through radical self-honesty. Ask yourself, why does this person trigger me? What am I refusing to see? What lesson is hidden in this discomfort? The answers are rarely easy, but they are always liberating. The journey through Jung's 6 dangerous personalities is not just about identifying threats in others. It is about awakening to the patterns within ourselves. Each of these people, in their own way, invites us to examine our boundaries, our wounds, and our unconscious motivations. To truly protect yourself, you must become a student of your own psyche, learning to recognize not only the dangers that come from outside, but those that arise from within. It is tempting to see ourselves as innocent victims, unlucky to have crossed paths with such personalities. But Jung's wisdom challenges us to look deeper. He believed that the people we attract are often mirrors for our own unresolved issues. The emotional vampire may find us because we have not learned to say no. The master manipulator may thrive because we doubt our own perceptions. The chronic victim may cling to us because we are addicted to rescuing others, perhaps to avoid facing our own pain. This is not about blame, it is about responsibility. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The dangerous people in our lives are often invitations to become more conscious, to see the patterns we have inherited, the wounds we have ignored, and the lessons we have yet to learn. Ask yourself, what is it in me that allows this person to remain in my life? What am I getting from this dynamic, even if it is painful? Sometimes we tolerate toxicity because it is familiar. Sometimes we fear loneliness more than we fear harm. Sometimes we believe we do not deserve better. These are the unconscious beliefs that keep us trapped, and only by bringing them into the light can we begin to break free. It is easy to dismiss the early signs of danger. The subtle manipulation, the draining conversations, the envy disguised as concern, the charm that feels too good to be true. We tell ourselves that we are overreacting, that everyone has flaws, that we should be more understanding. But Jung warned that ignoring our instincts is a form of self-betrayal. The body knows before the mind does. The tension in your stomach, the tightness in your chest, the sense of unease that lingers after an interaction, these are signals from your unconscious urging you to pay attention. The cost of ignoring these warnings is high. Over time, dangerous people can erode your self-esteem, distort your reality, and drain your energy. You may find yourself isolated from supportive friends, doubting your own worth, or trapped in cycles of guilt and obligation. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. The more you give, the less you have for yourself. Jung believed that the first step to freedom is awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to see. Trust your instincts. If a relationship consistently leaves you feeling worse, not better, it is a sign that something is wrong. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your energy, or your heart. Setting boundaries is not an act of aggression. It is an act of self-respect. Jung taught that healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not sacrifice. If someone cannot honor your boundaries, they do not deserve a place in your life. But setting boundaries is not always easy, especially with those who are skilled at guilt-tripping, manipulating, or playing the victim. You may fear backlash, rejection, or even retaliation. You may worry about being seen as selfish or uncaring, but remember, you are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are responsible for protecting your own well-being. Start small. Practice saying no without explanation. Limit your availability to those who drain you. Refuse to engage in conversations that leave you feeling confused or diminished. If someone reacts with anger or manipulation, see it as confirmation that your boundary was necessary. Jung believed that boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow in what nourishes you and keep out what harms you. The more you practice, the stronger your sense of self becomes. You begin to trust your own judgment, to value your own needs, and to choose relationships that are reciprocal, not exploitative. Every encounter with a dangerous person is an opportunity for self-reflection. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this experience? What patterns do I notice in my relationships? What wounds am I still carrying that make me vulnerable to certain types of people? Jung encouraged us to approach our own darkness with curiosity, not judgment. The goal is not to become paranoid or mistrustful, but to become wise, to see clearly, both in others and in ourselves, to recognize that the people who hurt us are often acting out their own pain, and that we have the power to choose how we respond. Self-reflection is not about blaming yourself for the actions of others. It is about reclaiming your power. The more you understand your own triggers, the less likely you are to be manipulated, drained, or controlled. The more you heal your own wounds, the less attractive you become to those who would exploit them. If you have been hurt by one of these dangerous personalities, know that healing is possible. Jung believed that every wound is an opportunity for growth, every betrayal a chance to reclaim your power. The process is not easy. It requires honesty, courage, and often support from others. Begin by acknowledging the pain. Do not minimize or dismiss what you have experienced. Allow yourself to grieve the loss, not just of the person, but of the illusions you held about them, and perhaps about yourself. Forgive yourself for not seeing the signs sooner. Remember, we all have blind spots, and we all learn in our own time. Seek out relationships that are nurturing, supportive, and honest. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your growth, respect your boundaries, and encourage your authenticity. Invest in your own healing through therapy, journaling, meditation, or any practice that helps you reconnect with your true self. Jung taught that the journey to wholeness is not about avoiding pain, but about integrating it. The people who hurt us can become our greatest teachers if we are willing to learn. They show us where we need to grow, what we need to heal, and how we can become more conscious, more compassionate, and more. Carl Jung believed that the greatest power we possess is the power of awareness. When you become aware of the patterns in your relationships, you are no longer a passive participant, you become the author of your own story. The 6 dangerous people are not just obstacles to be avoided, they are signposts pointing you toward the places in your life where growth is needed, where boundaries must be strengthened, and where self-love must be reclaimed. Awareness is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a commitment to seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. It means paying attention to your feelings, your instincts, and your body's signals. It means noticing when you feel drained, anxious, or diminished after an interaction, and having the courage to ask why. Jung taught that the unconscious mind is always communicating with us, often through subtle cues, a sense of unease, a recurring dream, a pattern of failed relationships. The people who trigger us the most are often the ones who have the most to teach us about our own wounds, our own needs, and our own capacity for change. One of the most powerful tools you can use is contrast framing, comparing the dynamics of dangerous relationships with those that are healthy and supportive. In a healthy relationship, you feel seen, heard, and valued. Your boundaries are respected, your growth is encouraged, and your energy is replenished. Disagreements are handled with respect, and both parties are willing to take responsibility for their actions. In contrast, dangerous relationships are marked by manipulation, depletion, and a lack of reciprocity. Your needs are dismissed, your boundaries are violated, and your sense of self is eroded. You may find yourself walking on eggshells, constantly trying to please or avoid conflict, or feeling responsible for someone else's emotions. Jung believed that the ability to discern the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships is a sign of maturity. It requires self-knowledge, self-respect, and the willingness to let go of people who cannot meet you where you are. It means choosing quality over quantity, depth over superficiality, and authenticity over approval. The journey from being affected by dangerous people to becoming empowered is not linear. It is a process of awakening, of shedding old patterns, and of reclaiming your power. At first, you may feel anger, grief, or even shame for having allowed certain people into your life. But Jung taught that these emotions are not signs of weakness, they are signs of awakening. The key is to use these emotions as fuel for change. Anger can motivate you to set boundaries. Grief can help you let go of what no longer serves you. Shame can be transformed into self-compassion as you realize that everyone has blind spots and everyone is learning. Empowerment begins when you stop blaming others for your pain and start taking responsibility for your healing. It means recognizing that you have the power to choose who you allow into your life, how you respond to their behavior, and what you are willing to tolerate. It means trusting yourself even when others try to make you doubt your worth. Jung believed that true empowerment comes from integrating the shadow, the parts of ourselves we have denied or rejected. When you face your own darkness, you become less susceptible to the darkness of others. You become whole, resilient, and free. Throughout this journey, it is essential to keep asking yourself the hard questions, the ones that cut through denial and bring clarity. Who in your life leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or diminished? What patterns do you notice in your relationships? Where are you sacrificing your own needs for the comfort of others? What boundaries need to be set, and what relationships need to be released? These questions are not meant to create fear, but to inspire courage. Jung believed that the willingness to look within is the foundation of all transformation. The more honest you are with yourself, the more power you have to change your life. It may seem paradoxical, but the people who challenge us the most are often our greatest teachers. The emotional vampire teaches us the importance of boundaries. The master manipulator teaches us to trust our own perceptions. The chronic victim teaches us to empower, not enable. The envious saboteur teaches us to celebrate our own success without guilt. The narcissistic charmer teaches us to value substance over style. The shadow mirror teaches us to embrace our own darkness. Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The key is to approach these encounters with curiosity, not judgment. Ask yourself, what is this person showing me about myself? What lesson is hidden in this discomfort? How can I use this experience to grow?" When you shift your perspective from victimhood to self-mastery, you reclaim your power. You become less reactive, more discerning, and more compassionate, both with yourself and with others. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to walk away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect, not to punish the other person, but to protect your own peace. Jung believed that letting go is an essential part of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. Walking away from dangerous people is not a failure. It is a declaration of your worth. It is a commitment to your own growth, your own healing, and your own happiness. It is an act of courage, and it is often the first step toward a life of greater freedom and fulfillment. Remember, you are not obligated to keep toxic people in your life, no matter who they are. Family, friends, lovers, colleagues, everyone must earn the right to be in your inner circle. Your energy is sacred. Protect it fiercely. Carl Jung's greatest insight was that wholeness is not achieved by rejecting the darkness, but by integrating it. The 6 dangerous people you must avoid are not just external threats, they are reflections of the unhealed parts within us all. To truly protect yourself, you must become conscious of your own shadow, your own vulnerabilities, and your own capacity for both light and darkness. Integration means accepting that you too have the potential to drain, manipulate, envy, or project. It means owning your mistakes, forgiving yourself for your blind spots, and committing to growth. Jung believed that the journey to individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires radical honesty, humility, and compassion. When you integrate your shadow, you become less reactive to the shadows of others. You recognize manipulation for what it is, without being drawn into the game. You see envy as a sign of someone else's pain, not a threat to your worth. You respond to emotional vampires with boundaries, not guilt. You meet narcissistic charm with discernment, not flattery. You face the shadow mirror with curiosity, not fear. This is not a path for the faint of heart. It requires courage to look within, to confront your own darkness, and to choose growth over comfort. But the reward is profound. A life of authenticity, resilience, and true freedom. Awareness is the first step, but action is what creates change. Here are practical steps inspired by Jung's teachings to help you navigate a world filled with both light and shadow. Make time for regular self-reflection. Journal about your interactions, your feelings, and your patterns. Notice who leaves you feeling energized and who leaves leaves you feeling drained. Pay attention to your body's signals, tension, fatigue, anxiety as messages from your unconscious. Decide what behaviors you will and will not tolerate. Communicate your boundaries calmly and firmly. Remember, you do not need to justify or explain your limits. If someone cannot respect your boundaries, that is a reflection of them, not you. Your intuition is a powerful guide. If something feels off, it probably is. Do not dismiss your gut feelings in favor of logic or social pressure. Jung believed that the unconscious mind is wise. Listen to it. Seek out relationships that are reciprocal, supportive, and honest. Invest in people who celebrate your growth, respect your boundaries, and encourage your authenticity. Let go of those who consistently bring chaos, drama, or negativity. Healing is an ongoing process. Work with a therapist, coach, or mentor if needed. Explore your own shadow, your fears, your wounds, your unmet needs. The more you heal, the less vulnerable you become to dangerous people. Be gentle with yourself as you learn and grow. Forgive yourself for past mistakes, for not seeing the signs sooner, for staying too long. Growth is not linear, and everyone has their own timeline. Jung believed that solitude is essential for self-discovery. Do not fear being alone. Use solitude as a time to reconnect with your true self, to recharge, and to reflect. The more comfortable you are with your own company, the less likely you are to tolerate unhealthy relationships out of loneliness. The ultimate gift of Jung's teachings is the freedom of conscious choice. You are not doomed to repeat the patterns of your past. You are not powerless in the face of dangerous people. With awareness, boundaries, and self-love, you can choose who you allow into your life, how you respond to their behavior, and what kind of relationships you create. This freedom is not about building walls or living in fear. It is about living with clarity, courage, and compassion. It is about choosing relationships that nourish your soul, challenge you to grow, and support your journey toward wholeness. If you have recognized yourself in any part of this journey, if you have been drained, manipulated, envied, or mirrored, know that you are not alone. These experiences are part of the human condition. What matters is not what has happened to you, but what you choose to do with it. Jung wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." You have the power to rewrite your story, to break free from toxic patterns, and to create a life that reflects your deepest values and desires. Begin today. Take one small step toward greater awareness, set one new boundary, have one honest conversation with yourself or with someone else. Each step is a declaration of your worth, a commitment to your own growth, and a movement toward a life of greater freedom and fulfillment. That as you move forward, remember that the journey to wholeness is ongoing.